I'll bill you for that
But I
one.
will tell you this, I bet Italy seems to like it.
Oh,
Or Lithuania, or
It's
that,
really beautiful
Russia.
people, and it's like, it's ridiculous.
depending on where you go. Down in front. Lower. Lower. Lower, too low, yeah.
hey, work for the watch that thing. That's the girl.
Stay there.
So-
Did she do that ever?
Couple times.
Oh, something must be going, we gotta run. Right, so, but if they're in the picture.
Hey, I saw your note. So what time are they at?
That's things that last a long time.
Get done, well, some of it, how do you want to get this?
Yeah,
Right, but we need kind of,
Screech is coming, Hillary.
I'll just come over there and we'll see what happens. If you need
Yeah.
to back up at either one location or the other, or around that. Okay, we'll just kind of play it by ear. Okay, well,
I've
Boehner
never heard of
thinks
it.
new, you're good off the top, you think, right? So it's Jacob, start, it's typically probably got it. Okay, let's do that, okay, and then I'll go to Boyer, and then, as soon as Hoyer's run, I'll come over.
he doesn't have his teeth in it.
Thanks.
His teeth in it, he's moving it more.
Yeah, I like.
Yeah, you can tell he was having fun with this. He was affecting this weird accent. Everyone else was just speaking normally. Yeah, this isn't where, this was pure entertainment value.
That's awesome.
It was like, if you like special effects, Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of thing, So correct. Heads up, heads up.
No, go right. That's mean.
You know, at the outset of the Iran negotiations, the Obama administration said that a good deal would affirm that Iran does not have the right to enrich. They also said that keeping sanctions in place until Iran met concrete, verifiable standards. And they believed that they had to stop Iran's drive for a nuclear bomb. Listen, the president has abandoned all of those goals, and that's why the deal that we have out there, in my view, from what I know of it thus far, is unacceptable. It's going to hand a dangerous regime billions of dollars in sanctions relief while paving the way for a nuclear Iran. And this isn't about Democrats or Republicans. It's not a partisan issue at all. It's about right versus wrong. And we're going to do everything we can to get to the details. And if, in fact, it's as bad a deal as I think it is at this moment, we'll do everything we can to stop it.
I know the president announced this morning an agreement with nuclear weapons with Iran. History has always proven peace without freedom is meaningless. Congress will have a role. We'll look at every detail. We'll look at the future. We'll look at the criteria, and we will have a say. There is another bill that will be on the floor this week that brings a great interest to many throughout the country. It deals with the water issue through the West. I want to congratulate David Valadao. One thing you have to look at, if you are from California, the challenge that we have. But the challenge does not have to be as great as it is. The last two Congress with Republicans in control, we passed a bill that would give us greater reserves to be able to deal with the drought. Unfortunately, the Senate never took it up. The president felt this issue was so great that he took Air Force One and he flew to California. He walked the arid land, the dry land with the farmers, and he said he would do something about it. But nothing has been done. Now is their moment that they can come to an agreement dealing with an issue that affects all. That in California, this bill is very simple. It does four things. It allows water to flow through the delta. It provides greater storage for those that we have promised for years in the past that have just stayed in a stalemate. Increase the reservoirs that we have today. For the last 30 years, you have built no new ones, but the population has continued to grow in California. Protect the water rights and the state project. It's simple, it's common sense, and David Valadao has led the charge to make a real difference.
It's clear that the administration wanted to deal with Iran at any cost, and unfortunately, they got a deal with Iran at a I think history will look back, if this is able to go forward on this bad deal, as the sanctioned beginning of Iran's path to a nuclear weapon. And that's dangerous not only for America, but for all of our allies throughout the Middle East, especially Israel. We will fight hard to reject this deal using every tool we have.
We are a little over 6 months into America's new Congress. And on issue after issue, what you have seen is we're promoting solutions, 21st century solutions to the challenges that Americans face all across the country. We trust people to make better decisions for themselves than the federal government ever will. And our goal is to empower people, empower families, empower communities to be able to make those best decisions. Just look at the Student Success Act, which is about empowering local leaders, parents, teachers, and students. Last week, we passed in big bipartisan support the 21st Century Cures Act, which is giving hope to millions of Americans for life-saving innovation. We passed the Resilient Federal Forest Act, which again is a bipartisan collaborative approach to ensuring better management of our forest and reducing the likelihood of catastrophic fire. We passed the U.S. Freedom Act, which ended bulk collection of America's phone data. And we've made veterans a priority, unanimously passing the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention Act and the Hiram More Heroes Act. I'm proud of the work that we've done over the first 6 months and confident that we will continue to do more work to improve people's lives in Eastern Washington and all across this country.
Over the past 6 months, the House has stripped away needless regulation, passed a budget that achieves balance, passed new tools to fight human trafficking, reformed SGR so our doctors can continue to afford to provide services to Medicare patients, pushed for job-creating policies like the Keystone XL pipeline, and protected 529 college savings plans for hardworking families trying to ensure a better life for their kids. And this week, the House will advance more legislation to help our veterans with the Veterans Entrepreneurship Act so that our veterans have the support they deserve to start their own business and succeed. It's amazing what we can do in Congress when we put the priorities of the American people first, not the priorities of bureaucrats in Washington. This is just a start. House Republicans will continue our work to pass solutions that bring increased prosperity, promote achievement, and build the opportunity economy the American people deserve.
So this week, my bill comes up, 2898, and this bill is something that's very personal to me because I'm a farmer. I grew up there in the Central Valley, decided to run for Congress, but my background is still agriculture. I still farm to this day, and watching all my friends and neighbors, the people who live in my community, suffer because of the regulations that are passed by this building, and we're trying to change that. We've got a new piece of legislation that really makes a difference, but to the folks that live in the valley, when you look around, to all the folks that now have lost their jobs, I mean, we've got people living in shacks alongside of the road, and it's gotten to that point where we're actually trucking water to some of these homes. It's a real dire situation, and for most people around the nation, I think this doesn't affect them. You've got to remember that we grow food. We grow food for everybody around the nation. And this is having a real impact. And I know every mother, every father out there, when they're budgeting what money they have to spend, they look at what they spend on groceries. And this has had a real impact there. Food prices have risen, and this has a direct effect on that side of it. So this is a bill that affects the nation as a whole. It's very important that we get this legislation passed. It's very important that the Senate takes it up, and it's very important that the President signs this, because there's water that we did have this year. I mean, we are in a drought, and the excuse of being in a drought does not work anymore. We had opportunities this past winter, even in a dry year, where there was water that was going through the delta, and we had an opportunity to pump some of that water and actually help alleviate the situation that we've got in the valley. And that wasn't taken up because of bad policy that we can fix in this House this week. So thank you.
Mr. Speaker, several of you talked about using tools here to combat bad and alarm from your vantage point here. Obviously, that would be a veto override if the president holds true in his position here. That would entail getting Democrats. Do you intend to kind of pressure Democrats, use the message during the August recess to say, look, this is a bad deal and you guys need to vote to override that?
Well, once the agreement is submitted formally, Congress will have 60 days to review it and then to pass judgment on it. Any decisions in terms of how we would proceed or when we would proceed, but I think it's pretty clear, it should be clear, that we do intend to act.
But since he threatened to veto in his opening statement earlier this morning, that kind of says this is going to be you guys are going to stick to your guns, and he's going to stick to his. That means we're going to have an override fight very soon.
Be a lot of time for people to look at the details of this agreement and come to a decision.
The Iran Review Act does imply that you're going to review this agreement, but it sounds like you've already rejected it. Are we to
Based on what,
going to do it
based on what I know now, it doesn't look like a very good deal. I want to review all the facts, but based on what I know, I'm highly skeptical at best.
A drought question. It looks like you're going to pass Mr. Valdeo's drought bill this week. But what is the prognosis for getting it on the president's desk this year?
Obviously, in the last few Congresses, we've passed legislation, but this past election cycle, things have changed, and we've got new leadership there, and I do believe there's a real opportunity to get it done. The bill's going to pass the way it passes in its current form off the House floor. What happens in the Senate is still up in the air, but we do believe we've got some support over there.
Mr. Speaker, Hillary Clinton is here meeting with House Democrats and Senate Democrats.
I wonder if she brought her emails with her.
Well, I guess if you were able to sit down and talk to her, what would your message be to Hillary? And also, what do you think the prospects, if she were to become president, were to be for bipartisan compromise in Congress?
Well, there were an awful lot of ifs and ands and buts there, so I think I'll pass on all that. Welcome to the Capitol. If Hillary Clinton wants the Benghazi committee to finish their work, she could help them by turning over all of her emails sooner rather than later.
Last week, you overrode the wishes of your budget chairman to create a new mandatory spending program in the Cures Act. You had also overruled him on the issue of OCO funding earlier in the year. How would you describe your relationship with Chairman Price at this point and with anti-spending conservatives?
Well, no, we had a very good meeting with the chairman last week and frankly the week before. And, there's a lot of issues a lot of moving parts around here. And I think he understands that may not have been his preference, but it's clearly the Congress's preference in terms of how we proceed. And that spending was offset by other reductions in mandatory spending. And we have a good relationship. We just keep working at it. Alan?
Did Obama or anyone from the administration call you last night?
The president called me last night and told me I should expect that an agreement was, in his words, imminent.
Did you tell him?
Thanks, sir. That I was skeptical. Thank you.